Hey friends, I'm Maxwell Freud, a queer, Minneapolis-based game designer and the host of Hatched This Way, a limited audio series where I chat with other queer folks in the tabletop industry to learn all about who they are and how they contribute to the hobby by being their authentic selves. Today, I'm joined by Geeky Gaymer Guy, Theo Strempel. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on to this. And I'm so happy that there's a podcast for this in this industry. Like, we needed this so bad, y'all. Like, so bad. So I'm so glad that it's a thing.
Yeah, I had heard not a lot, but I've heard episodes of a lot of design podcasts where they have queer people on them, and I might gather that they're queer at some point through,
sure.
I have to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I always want to hear more about that. It's mostly about games. And I think I just wanted space to just talk about our experiences, our lived experiences, and to just share those journeys. And then hopefully through that educate and help bring awareness to how we can move the needle forward towards inclusion.
Oh, for sure. I love that. Seeing the people behind the games is really important for representation, and you making a space that is wholly queer is so nice. Instead of us kind of being in a space where we're included, I would like a space that kind of it's baseline. Like you walk in and that's like, oh, this is a queer space. You already know before you start. And it's very much how Geeky Gamer Guy came about, is I wanted a clear space for us to geek out over things that we enjoyed. So
yeah, and I think not even just a baseline, I guess it is, but I would like it to also be an opportunity to celebrate
absolutely
our identities. I think
sure.
There's the acceptance level and feeling comfortable level, and then there's the people who are just ecstatic to hear your stories and really want to know about you is a whole different level.
Completely.
To that end, how do you identify?
I go by he, him. I'm a gay man. I'm just me at the moment, but he, him. It's a gay man. That's usually how I identify.
Same,
Nice. Nice.
We're the same person, right?
Well, that's what people love to think. Yeah. We're all the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about your experience of self, discovery, getting comfortable with those labels. Are you comfortable with those labels? You seem to be.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like if you're going to be calling yourself Geeky Gamer Guy, you got to be fully in on being okay with those labels. But
so people are aware it's gamer with a Y.
With a Y.
That's yeah.
Yes, and there was many a times where people thought it was me saying I was gay mer guy, like I was a mer person. But
that's a thing. That's
fair. Yeah. But it was more gamer guy. Yeah. So, but
it could be both. It could be both.
It could be both. I do love the water.
Have you seen the mermaid outfits and
TikTok? My TikTok. I live for those TikTok things. I just sit there and I'm just like, yes, look at that fin. So I get it. I came out pretty young. I didn't really have the best upbringing when it came to that. I grew up in a very religious household, and I didn't really, I wasn't able to really celebrate myself until I was able to distance myself from that. That was something that I wasn't able to really accept being in that environment. Does that make sense?
Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in southern Texas. I kind of went all over the place. My father worked in grocery, which everybody always makes. It's so funny, but my father worked in grocery. He wasn't the military. I just moved around a lot. He moved to a lot of stores. So I was always used to being the new kid. So I was always used to I think that's what attributes a lot of my personality, I guess, is that, you have to, as a kid, I had to learn to make friends very quickly because I would move every 2 years. So it was kind of like you learned how to be extroverted, I guess. But yeah, I when I was young, I had a very sheltered upbringing, and I didn't really know what gay people were. I only knew Will and Grace and all of that sort of stuff. So you only knew this archetype of what a gay person was. So I didn't really understand any of that growing up. And then I was in high school, and I had a couple of friends who all became queer, or not become, or all are queer, and they were a nice space to explore myself a little bit, but I didn't really understand myself until after high school, and being able to kind of like learn the hard truths of my life. Cause I had, like I said, I had a very sheltered life. So my family didn't really show me what the real world was like. So I didn't really know what a gay person was. So I had to kind of discover that on my own. And yeah, it was obviously it was a good thing for me because I fully embrace and love the person that I am. But it took a while.
And you're still in Texas, right?
Now I'm in Texas. So I was in California for a long time, which was lovely. I loved it so much. And it was Bay Area. It was wonderful, but it's so expensive. So the only way that me and my partner were going to be able to get a house is to move out here into Texas. And yeah, that's what we did.
Wild. So what is I don't know, just based on what I've heard of Texas, that you could get me to like even visit Texas at this point.
I know. I completely understand that. So I thought in my mind, this is my reasoning, okay? You gotta hear me out. This is my reasoning. I was like, okay, a lot of tech is moving out here to Austin. That's a huge deal. We're gonna do it. And I was like, oh, okay, because we're gonna do like the Bay Area, because the Bay Area used to be affordable. When I first moved there, it was affordable. And then obviously got more and more expensive. There was no way that I was going to be able to afford a $2 million house. Like there was just no way that was going to happen. So I thought, okay, let's move here. And then when it starts getting big here, we could flip it and we can go back to California. I don't know where I thought that it was okay to go back to Texas as a gay man and be able to handle it. But luckily, I will say, Austin is kind of like the black sheep. It is very, the catchphrase is keep Austin weird. And that's very much how it is. There are those people here. We've gone down the street and there's been, Trump signs and all that sort of stuff down there. But for the most part, it's been pretty nice. We have a pride flag outside. There's a pride flag outside and I'm not dead. So I'm going to take it as a good thing, Oh,
gosh. I mean, to be fair, I was just at a wedding in Wisconsin and there's plenty of Trump signs and bumper stickers still. I don't know.
Yeah, it's wild. Absolutely wild.
When did you meet your partner?
We've been together for a very, very long time. We've been together since 2005. So we've been together for 17 years. He was somebody that I didn't see coming, but he was also a good thing that it was just kind of all fell into place. So it was really nice. We've been through a lot. A lot of people know about me and my disability, my MS, but that kind of all manifested around the same time. So it was a lot.
Okay. Well, some people don't. I don't know a lot about it. I knew you had MS because I follow you on Twitter. So talk to me about that in the journey of growing up and moving around and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I try to limit my amount of talking about MS, and not so because of any sort of shame or anything like that. It's just that I don't want to be. I'm already being the gay guy. I don't want to be the gay disabled guy. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. In my experience, everybody wants a label. Everybody wants a box. And I don't want to give more boxes and more ways to make myself smaller. Does that make sense? And I know I'm not saying I'm smaller, but in the sense that I don't want people to write me off because of who I am. So I'm going to put the thing that I love about myself the most out there. Kind of consider my queerness as a shield. against everything else because it's something that I fully embrace with myself. MS was hard. It's a hard thing to deal with.
Can you talk to me a little bit about, like, I think I know very little about MS. I know some like treatment options, but I don't
Yeah.
actually think, if you asked me, I couldn't tell you
Yeah,
like
yeah.
an
No,
accurate
totally.
description.
That's totally fine. So MS is kind of an autoimmune disease that your body basically attacks itself. That's kind of like, what it is. So the thing that your body attacks is your spinal cord and your brain mostly. So that of course is nerve endings. So that causes a lot of like mobility issues. That causes a lot of cognitive issues and cause emotional trauma, all sorts of stuff like that. Like the gambit the one problem with MS is that there's so many different versions of MS that it's hard to treat. Just because I have, like, for me, I have like the right side of my body is weaker than my left. So like I have a little bit of motor function problems with my right hand or with my right leg. But there's other people who it's just their arms or it's just their legs, and like so it's very hard for you to diagnose that because everybody's kind of a little different. But for me, what worked the most for me, because like I've had it since I was 20, and I went all in on diet. Diet and exercise kind of was like my saving grace. I think that if I had just listened and said, "Oh, I'm just going to take these drugs," that I wouldn't have been in the situation that I am in now. I think, I think anybody that knows me knows that I'm somebody that will do what I want to do, in the sense that I'm not going to wait for somebody to tell me what to do. I'm just going to go and do it. So my catalyst, I guess, to make it for the we'll make it sad and then make it better. But the sad part is just like so I was getting worse. I got diagnosed when I was 20, and I kept taking these drugs that were just slowly making me worse. That's all you were doing, is really kind of you were slowing the symptoms. And my doctor my neurologist told me that there was like this new drug that was out that had such promising effects, but it had like a 1 in 90, like 999 chance that I would get a brain hemorrhage and I would die. And every 3 months I would have to take this drug. And every 3 months the odds would increase. So I told my partner, I said, Leo, I was like, I need to figure something out because I think that this is just going to mess me up. And I want to be able to find something that works. And so I redid my diet and I just really started taking up exercise. And I love both of my things. Like, like that's the thing with people when you say diet. I love the food I eat. What I'm trying to tell you? Like, it's not me sitting there being like, oh, I feel like I'm limiting myself. No, it's actually helped me to thrive. It's helped me to live. So I thank myself for being able to do that sort of stuff, But yeah, it's me. I am a unique unicorn, and I'm completely fine with it.
So, how old were you when you met Leo?
I was 19 when I met him.
So that was before. So you met is he gay? Another gay person? You met a gay person who like was there, met you pre-disability, right?
Yeah,
and then stayed. That's unheard of.
Well, okay, so here we got some beautiful things to unpack there. So, like I told you, I didn't really have a great relationship with my family. So my mother had breast cancer, and that was through most of my teen years. My mother had breast cancer, and she was probably the only family that I felt good with. Like I felt like I was good with her. But my mother, this all happened in the first year that I was dating Leo. So like, of course this has to happen. But my mother passed away, and she passed away like probably like 7 months after we've been together. And if you look at the research for MS, a lot of the reasons why people who are young, their symptoms start showing is usually a traumatic event kind of causes it to show. So that catalyzed my body to like, push it along, I guess. I don't know how to say it, but I was working at I'm going to age myself, but I was working at Blockbuster at the time, and it was like one of my favorite jobs, but my leg would just start like stop working. I would just like go numb. And I was very active. I played soccer. I did all sorts of things. So I didn't really think anything of it. And then it started getting worse and started getting worse and started getting worse. And then my mother passed away and my body was like, you're done. So obviously, like you said, this was in the first year that I was dating somebody, and I told him, I was like, I don't want you to feel like you have to take care of me, because like that's like the worst burden to put on somebody. Not even a situation where you're like, I don't want you to watch me degrade, like that's like the hardest part out of all of it. But obviously he said no, but it was a lot. The person that even 17 years ago is not the person that I am now.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I wouldn't date 20-year-old me. No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I wouldn't touch him.
No, 20-year-old me was like I said, I was very sheltered. I didn't know what a gay person was. I didn't know how to be or how to act. I was just looking at media, and media was telling me that I need to be, I don't know, flamboyant, and I need to be, and you and I both know that gay is just your sexual orientation. It is not like a being. You don't have to be anything, but kids don't know. And that's why representation is so important.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the journey. I think maybe for us, because we're of, I guess, a certain generation now, but
yeah,
I was definitely like figuring out that being gay or queer, it doesn't have to be your entire identity. It is, it is a piece of it's a very important piece of your identity.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to dictate all your behaviors and interests.
And these are things that you'll learn with experience. The more you experience, the more you'll understand that, like, you don't have to be, I don't know, like, I don't mind. I love being gay, but.
And I think there's a lot of pressure too in our community, I'll say, to kind of do the things, like you go out to the bars, I don't know, sleep with all your friends. Well, I don't know. It's like, it's very bar heavy. I think like the club kind of culture, and it doesn't work for a lot of people. So I think there's a lot of instances where you just end up feeling more excluded than you were before. Yeah. And it's not always a fun path. Like, some people thrive in those situations.
Yeah.
And,
go them.
The eternally skinny.
It's just, it was just a lot. And that is kind of the main reason why I made Geeky Gaymer Guy, because I wanted people to sit at a table and actually get to know each other. And I grew up where you really don't have, especially in the queer communities, like you said, you had clubs, you had things that really wasn't places to kind of connect. And like, board games is what did that for me. Like, you're able to sit down and everything is the same, I guess is the best way. Like if you're somebody who's introverted, or if you're somebody like me who is like, you have a disability and you're worried about all these things, board games does this beautiful thing of leveling everybody on the same playing field, and you don't feel so different, I guess is the best way of putting it. And also, it's so nice because everybody has a common goal. You're all like, here's a game, this is what you do. And it's like, it's a great icebreaker. It's a great way for people to see it. So like, when I started, that's what I wanted all gay people to do, is like form some good relationships and play some games together. Like, that's like so important.
Yeah. And I think a reason for that is it's becoming more accepted. And like, as it becomes more, let's say, mainstream accepted, our safe places get to extend beyond bars and clubs.
For
That
sure.
used to be where you knew you could go to a gay
We could
bar.
go. Right,
And
of
it's like
course.
more or less a safe space, even if you're not, the white muscular guy that,
Right.
is
Yeah.
feeling very comfortable there. You can at least be around other queer people.
For sure.
Whereas I think as it becomes more accepted, you have other opportunities and spaces that we can start finding and create safe spaces. So it doesn't have to be a bar. I think that's kind of why me personally, I advocate for inclusion outside of the common
scene,
the scene.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if you don't want to be here, you can leave. But
Mhm.
I don't want, like, we shouldn't have to only exist in those, like,
for sure,
in the dark corners.
Yeah, and it's limiting, right? So you think about it from like my standpoint. I I loved going to clubs and bars. That's fun, and obviously there's a place for it. There's no saying that you can't do that. But wow, I have so little energy, and then I'm going to a club and I'm going to waste it all. And like, I don't know. For me, I've always found more joy connecting with people on deeper levels and being able to, like, for me, sitting around a board game table has given me such great friendships that I just want all queer people to experience that. So that's why I did it. That's why I started this, was because I did that.
I mean, since you brought it up, what did you start specifically? Because I have what people might not know what you do.
Of course,
what do you do? What did you start?
So I run the YouTube channel and social media, Geeky Gaymer Guy, and I do reviews and playthroughs about board games. And I've been just like everybody with COVID. There's always moments of me just not wanting to do it, but all that sort of stuff. It's really important, and I know it's really important, and I know that there are a lot of people that really need it, and I want to be able to shine a little happy light into this really horrible time that we're all in. But yeah, I'm on Geeky Gaymer Guy, like we said, Gaymer, not gamer. I still get mail from people that does gamer with GAMER, and I'm just like, oh, you're missing the point of the whole thing.
It's a very important why.
Yeah. It's a very important why. I agree.
Okay, so it's specifically the YouTube channel, and it's one of those things where I think I remember first kind of breaking into the hobby more than just like, oh, I bought some games that I play with my friends, and now I'm like going to Gen Con, and I'm thinking about, maybe I can do something in the space because I'm not seeing a ton of representation.
For sure.
If I recall, I think you were one of like the first names, like personalities that I remember like coming across is like, there is a queer person publicly in the space. Like, I didn't know. I had to find.
You have to look.
The other ones over the years.
Yeah. I have a really good story for that. I tell it to everybody. It's like one of my favorite podcasts. I'm sorry if you heard this a million times from me, but I love this story. It's one of my favorite stories. So I had really loved board games. We moved to the Bay Area, and that was kind of, I had a friend who showed me Ticket to Ride, I think was the first game, the standard bread and butter kind of thing. And I really loved it. And I just enjoyed everything that I was doing. Cause like I said, I'm disabled. So there's some things that I'm just going to do differently than some people, but I can do this. And like, I was very excited that I was something that I could do that made me feel normal. So I really enjoyed it. And I was trying to find more queer people to follow. And there wasn't any. There was none. This was almost 5.5 years ago. There was nobody. And I turned to my partner and told him about it. And he was like, well, why can't you be that person? And I was like, you know what? Why can't I be that person? So that's where it started. It was a scary, scary thing because, putting yourself out there is, especially as a gay person, and you're just like, you have to deal with the hate from everybody other than our community, and then you have to deal with the hate inside of our community. So it's just kind of like it public eye stuff was very it's still very hard for me, but I think I've grown thicker skin the more I've done it. You have to, because you're putting yourself out there.
I don't know. I think to give people context, what are some of the things that you have to build thick skin around? Because I doubt it's all intentional even,
Oh,
like
absolutely not.
I'm sure you're getting some like directly aggressive comments,
Oh, for
but
sure.
for the most part, I'm going to assume it's well intentioned or well meaning. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know the saying, the one bad apple spoils a bunch. Most of the time, I get very beautiful comments, and people are very nice about all that sort of stuff. But you have that one that gets under your skin, that like either comments about, oh, that my voice is too high, or they don't like my hairy chest, or oh, the way I said something was good, it's actually bad. I've gotten the gambit of things where it's just like, well, my opinion is my opinion. At the end of the day, it's my own, it's not yours. And I had to learn to be okay with that, because like I'm not a people pleaser, but I'm somebody that doesn't want to rock the boat, I guess is the best way of putting it. And like being in this space, you have to, because it's not going to change unless you rock the boat.
I remember, I think one of the comments that stuck out to me that you tweeted about is people were like, oh, because you have like this smirk you do, I feel like in your thumbnails.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, people like to ask, or they ask, do you smile that way because you have MS? And you're like, no, it's just how I like to smile.
I had another person who asked me if I had half my face was paralyzed, and I was like, no, I just kind of like smiling like this. Like that's what I like doing.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it's a question.
It's just one of those things that, like, I knew it was going to happen, and I knew it was, and I fully embraced it, but it was something that, like, I guess you can't prepare yourself for the amount of attention you're going to get, I guess is the best way of putting it. And attention in a sense that's not good or bad, just kind of like everybody on the internet is going to comment. If they like, that's the thing about the internet, is everybody has an opinion, so everybody will say something, and I just had to be prepared for those opinions.
I guess that's just part. I guess it's.
Yeah.
I think that's an experience you get as a marginalized person just existing.
Right.
Putting yourself on a platform is definitely not going to be any different or an exception.
No.
I guess there's a difference though between that and then fostering like community and comments going forward from that.
Of course.
Like I think how you respond to it and then what you attract, I think says a lot about when you start having a presence or a platform like that. That's been a conversation recently too.
Yeah.
How people, what you respond to, what you stand for, and what you allow to happen in your spaces.
That honestly, curating your space and making it as safe as possible is probably one of the best things for queer people, because the only way that we're going to be able to feel safe is that if you you need to be proactive on making it that way. Like even the same, I am somebody who doesn't really, I don't know. I don't want to say like, I'm not really a social justice warrior. I'm not somebody who is going to try and beat the door down, but I also am somebody that doesn't want to be taken as, I'm going to allow this in my space. You're not going to allow that. That's not, this is a safe place, and I want that to be fostered and cared for because of it, because I don't need it, and I don't want my people to need it, the ones who are following me. So
wholeheartedly agree.
Yes.
So shifting into board games, because I hear you like board games. Have you played?
Yeah, just a little bit. I play a little here, a little there.
A little Monopoly, a little Scrabble.
Yeah, just a little Monopoly. Oh God, I haven't played either of those in a very long time.
Talk to me about where you see yourself in the board games that you play. Or do you see yourself in board games, either as a queer person or as a disabled person?
Well, I will say that the amount of disabled people in board games is definitely a lot less. and even maybe just a smidge more is queer people, but we still have a long way to go with both. Like, I played with Danny Quatch. We played, I forgot what it was called, Snally Gasters, something. It was a renegade game, and one of the characters was in a wheelchair, and I was like super excited because, like, as much as we have these racial issues with, obviously there's huge racial issues, but being a disabled person, you kind of don't even get treated like a race. You kind of just get treated like a disabled person. It's like a whole different thing. Like once we get over this, not get over, but once we can get things under control when it comes to race, we need to look at disability, because that's probably the one thing that makes me the most nervous about talking about my disability, is that I don't want people to think that I'm not capable of doing what you can do, because I am. And I don't want that to be, just because I have something that you don't have doesn't mean that my voice or my ability is not as important as yours.
The like bias and cultural, how we look down on disabled people.
Oh yeah.
It's just like this ingrained thing. And I was talking to, I don't think it made it into the recording, but I was talking to Leona Maple. And whenever people are throwing out, inclusion, I feel like we forgot about the disabled people. Like they literally,
it's always the truth.
They literally forget that disabled people exist, period.
Oh yeah.
And it's such a common theme. Like I made a point, because I realized that I was very much unaware of like disabled issues.
Yeah. I worked
at a news station, and that's kind of like where I started. We did a lot of you'd start seeing stories about like issues in healthcare systems that were harming disabled people. Mm-hmm. That's where I like started learning about it. And then I just like I got more into it when I started researching autism, which I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a different spectrum altogether.
It's a different spectrum, but I don't know if that counts as a disability necessarily.
Oh yeah, for sure. It can be a disability. It's a mental thing. Yeah. Yeah.
But for a lot of people, it's just like, I think differently. I'm not disabled.
Oh, for sure.
I just have a different. But some people, it is like some people are nonverbal or
right. Yeah.
It can be a disability. That's very nuanced. But so I became more aware of it, and now I like make a point to follow disabled people just so I can be aware of issues, because I don't want to forget disabled people.
We just don't really even think about it, right? We don't even think about it, and it's not even like. I have a blessing and a curse, right? I look like I'm fine. You look at me and you go, oh, there's nothing wrong with Theo. There's nothing wrong, But if you see me at a con, like 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be in a wheelchair. And the reason why I'm going to be in a wheelchair is because I have energy and I want to preserve it as much as I can. So I'm going to be in a wheelchair so that I don't have to walk and dodge people and just not tax myself more than I already am going to be dealing with. So it's just a way of thinking that most people won't think about, right? But the more you're aware of it, the more you see things are maybe just a little bit different. I don't want to say harder, because obviously everybody's lives are a little bit harder, but being disabled is a very different thing for even other disabled people.
Yeah, I think what's unique about the experience is that you become inspiration porn in a lot of ways. And
absolutely.
It's that, I shouldn't be complaining, or if they can
do it. That was another reason why I didn't want people to say that. Yeah. That was another thing I was worried about, because people will always say I'm inspiring for being gay. And then it's like, if I'm disabled, then I'm super inspiring. And I'm just kind of like, okay, just let me be me. Don't make me feel like as if I have to be like your Mother Teresa of gay disabled people.
And it sounds like empathy, but it's not empathy. You're literally not empathy. You're objectifying. And I don't think people understand that when they say things like that, you're not being empathetic. You're literally being the opposite and not thinking about their feelings.
You also are not even thinking about the person. You're just thinking about, like, if you had it, it would be horrible. And they say it to you like that is so inspiring. And that really means I'm so glad I don't have it.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes across as. 9 times out of 10, obviously there's some genuineness behind it, but there are other times where I had people who would say that to me, like at a con, and I would just be very like taken aback by it because I'm just trying to be like everybody else, and it's already hard enough for me to be out and talking to people and doing all that sort of thing, and then you're coming at it like being like as if, what was I supposed to do? The only way I was going to get to this con is by getting out here in a wheelchair and like trying to make do as much as I could. Like, I will say I'm glad that I took this journey into board games years later after being diagnosed, because if I had done it before, I used to be very headstrong. I used to be, oh, I should walk. I'll walk. I'm going to walk and I'm going to do all this sort of stuff. So I'm diminishing myself to make others feel better when I'm the one that's going to be hurt out of all of it. So I had to prioritize me, which was the hardest thing for me to, I think is a lot of us should be very relatable to a lot of people, but me was an important thing. If I was going to not be able to, I don't know, spend time with people because I was using all my energy to walk around, I'm not like having a good experience. And at the end of the day, I want to have a good experience.
Yeah, I think burnout at the expense of ourselves is a more universal.
Oh yeah. I think there's a good blanket thing that goes. It kind of affects all facets of life for sure.
It's probably kind of a neurodivergent thing, a little bit.
For sure.
I don't want to bother someone, so I'm just going to torture myself because, yeah, maybe not neurodivergent, but it's definitely.
There's definitely some psychosis into it for sure. Like it's a brain thing, And I think it was because I did have MS, and I was upset that I had MS and upset that I did all this stuff that I didn't want people to be like, oh, I want people to think I'm good. Everything's fine. I can still be everything's fine without killing myself. So that's what I decided to do. And like, I think the biggest part for me as being so public, I guess is the best way of putting it, me putting myself out there. And like, you go to Instagram, I take a lot of shirtless selfies. I enjoy it. It's something that makes me feel good. But it's not for you, it's for me. And then sorry not to be upset with it, not to make anybody feel diminished by it, but like, I don't do it for any sort of gratification. But like, when I like see people at con and they see me like in a wheelchair, they get like sad. Like, you can see it in their eyes. And I hate that feeling of looking at people where they just like, that was not the person that they saw. And I'm not lying to you, but I don't have to show my entire life every single day. I don't know if I have that mental capacity of being able to talk about how I feel all the time. Does that make sense? Like, so I'm going to use Instagram just as much as anybody else to make themselves feel better. In some senses, it makes me feel like I'm still here. Does that make sense? Like, it still makes me feel seen, and it still makes me feel like I have a voice and I'm important, because like we talked about with disability, we don't think about disabled people that way. And like, so it's some place to make me feel like I can be something, I guess, is, I'm there. So.
Yeah, I think I understand. And even if I didn't, it doesn't matter, It's like, that's your thing. That's how you
right.
That's how you navigate life. So
right.
I don't have to understand it for that to be valid, is what I say to that.
Believe me, I wish that everybody that I interacted with felt like that way, but they all have some sort of opinion, and it's just like, y'all, calm down.
I just talked to a friend who is older, and he's talking about how he doesn't understand drag queens. Therefore, he has kind of like this internalized issue with them.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, you're not a drag queen. You don't have to understand it.
You don't have to understand anything.
You can just let them be and then be okay with it. You don't.
Absolutely.
If you have an issue with it, that's a you problem.
Right. That's not a them problem.
He knows that. He knows it's a him problem, but it's like, you should figure that out because they're just living their best life.
That's something you need to mentally unpack with yourself, because that's not something that should be on the drag queen. That shouldn't be on them. They're like if we talk about armor, we talk about somebody who suits up. That is something that you are literally suiting up for. And I think the thing that got me into board games, not to pivot, but it's gonna come back, I promise. That got me into board games was the art of it all, and that's what I love the most about drag, is that it is a art form. It's so cool to see what you can do with that, and like I love it. Like I watch Drag Race every single week with my friends in San Francisco. That's what we do, and it's sure there are problems in that, obviously, but that's less so the drag and more so the thing that's in it, or the person that's running it. But that's not like, I'm not going to not support drag queens over it. Does that make sense? Like, it's something that's really important.
You mean
well, just like RuPaul has been problematic.
Oh yeah,
in certain situations, and I don't want to say I don't want to say that I watch Drag Race for RuPaul. I watch Drag Race for drag. I watch to support drag queens.
Yeah, being a drag queen does not make you invulnerable or like remove you from being a good person.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So like that aside, like that's different than like the art of drag, like you said. Yeah.
Right. I just wanted to go because I don't want people to read it between the lines. I'm going to just be very succinct in how I say it. So
yeah, it's like I said, it's the same concept with, there are lots of problematic gay white men. That's
absolutely
the thing. There are problematic drag queens and people in the drag community. It's, we're figuring stuff out, but that's kind of different than the art of drag. Yeah.
Right.
The
core of drag is different. Yeah.
It doesn't devalue like the experience of drag, and it doesn't, problematic white guys don't devalue the need for human rights for queer people. Both, and they can both be true.
Yeah, no, totally. I completely agree. I think that it's a beautiful art form, and it's something that if you were curious over it, go for it. But like to say I don't get it, or to say all that sort of stuff, it really doesn't do anything other than just so that you're kind of closed-minded and you're not even looking at what's in front of you. That kind of situation. And try it before you like it, I guess, is the best way. You know what I'm saying? You gotta try it. If you don't like it, then you don't like it.
If it's not for you, that's okay.
It's the same. Okay.
That brings us back into board games. They're not all going to be for you. It doesn't mean board games are terrible. It just means some of them aren't for you, and that's okay.
Some of them just don't work. Yeah, like me, I am not really a direct interaction kind of person. I don't really want somebody who, especially as I enjoy teaching games, I enjoy it. I do really enjoy it. But 9 times out of 10, if you're teaching somebody that you don't know and you're teaching them the game, they're most likely going to attack you because you are the person that taught it. Like, that usually what happens to me. And it's like, I don't know. I don't ever like the pile driving. I become public enemy number 1, which y'all, like, just so you know, I am not really a competitive person, but nobody really enjoys to be pile drived by at a board game, You know what I meant. By pile driving. I saw the face. I got the face.
I'm like, these words are being said on this family-friendly podcast. No, just kidding. So, you don't like super competitive. What games do you like? Because that's a question I like to ask people is, what are some of your favorites that you like to bring to the table? Or what are some ones that you like to recommend to people?
Oh, well, I'll try to be a little bit more succinct than Nursey, but I am kind of in the same boat as him, where it's like my favorites fluctuate a lot. But I will say that if it's a knee-jerk reaction, people always ask that question to me. I love Concordia. And the reason why I love Concordia is because it has beautiful hand management. and I love hand management. That's like one of my favorite mechanics in games. I love that when you play a card, it does this thing, and these actions that are on cards interconnect together, and it just makes you feel so smart. I love games that make you feel smart, that you go, wow, I did that, good job. So that would probably be a game that I would recommend if you enjoyed that. I do also love Space Base. I don't know if you know Space Base.
I just played it for the first time on BGA.
Oh, you're on BGA. We should play on BGA. It's great.
I did not win by a lot.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It seemed like a fairly straightforward-ish game, but I'm like, oh, there's definitely a way to play this, and it's not the way I'm doing it.
No. It's kind of like focusing on a number and hoping that probabilities you'll end up rolling that number a lot, because if you don't, then you don't get the special stuff that you get. But
yeah, for just to give people context, it's the main mechanic is you roll 2 dice, and then based on you have like a track of from 1 to 12, and you can like put bonuses on the, like, you build up the numbers from 1 to 12, and you can either take the 2 separate numbers, so like 3 and 4 would be an obvious like good thing to invest in potentially, or you could take them together and take the 7. Like, it depends on how you want to build up your engine. Yeah. It's like I sound like I know how to play it. I do not.
I genuinely think that was a beautiful explanation. I think that was great. And I think the thing that really makes me excited, because I did do things called Giddy Games, and both of them are on my Giddy Games because they make you really happy when you play. Like, I love Space Base in the sense that when you're sitting around the table, you're all actively engaged because you all need to know what the number is. Because if that number triggers something on your board, you can be like, "Oh, I get to do this," and that stuff is so good for people that maybe don't really play a lot of board games, because making sure that you're incorporating them to be engaged at the table the whole entire time, it's kind of a beautiful thing to watch people be excited about it. And that's like what makes me excited, is like people get excited that something happened to them.
Yeah. So I'm a filmmaker, and when I watch movies, I love to get sucked in. I am not a person who enjoys commercials in movies. There are some people I know, and they're lovely people, but they prefer to watch movies on TV with commercials so they can like take breaks. And I'm like, no.
Oh no.
That's not how you watch a movie, you heathen.
I can't.
Yeah. And I have a similar thing with board games. I feel like you need to sit down and we're going to have this magical experience. And I won't like openly judge you for walking away to do whatever you need to do. Like, I understand certain things, but you're just going to check out. I don't know. I'm like, I get very into it. I'm also usually the one like reading the rules and teaching it. So I'm like, ooh, I need to make sure everyone's having a good time. And if you just leave the table, I'm like, okay.
Just disregarding all the fun.
I can't.
I get it.
I love a good immersive, like I agree in it. Like, everyone's involved. I think there are some designs that lend themselves better to that experience.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
There are some games that are totally fine to walk away from the table. I also mentally check out sometimes.
No, yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. Like, it's going to come back to me, and it's almost better to not
know. Especially like the bigger games. Yeah, like the bigger games that are heavier, they come around back to you, and most likely the state of how you left it is not going to be what it was. So yeah, sometimes it's like that. I will say that I tend to be more heavy now. I play more heavy games, but I still love me some light, fun games. Like, I mean, honestly, it's just like when I play like Quacks, right? Like, I don't play Quacks very often, but God, when I play Quacks of Quedlinburg, I'm like, this game is so freaking fun. Why don't I play this game more? Like, so it's just, those are the games that are great.
Played that for the first time recently. It was.
And how did we do?
It was fine. I lost by. If you haven't picked up on a theme here, I played with my friend and his daughter, and she won. She lapped us on the score track, which is a little suspicious. I'm not going to say.
That sounds like there's a rule definitely missing. It's definitely missing.
Yeah, I'm not going to accuse her of anything. She lapped us on the score track. And I was like, white. Oh, anyway, if you pull out the little white ingredients, you'll blow up eventually. And they loved me. So.
They loved you. That's so funny.
I was like, again, I'm like, there's a way to play this probably, but also if I just can't draw the good ones, is really no point.
Happen. Yeah,
it's just not going to work for me. And there were not enough rat tails on that board to help me.
There was no catching up.
There was no catching up. Anyway, so I was like,
too bad.
I heard though, like that was the basic rules. There's like a B side to the boards and stuff that I think give you more variability or control. I don't know. Allegedly, I would try it again because I've heard.
I love the venom that was in there. You're like, allegedly.
When I tell you, this girl got to the end of the little potion track, I was like, "Excuse me, I have 18 rat tails and I made it to 30. I don't understand."
Oh, it sounds like you just need to play another time. See if maybe switch up the books.
I will
try it again.
I will give it a try more. Otherwise,
this is what I feel like. Listen, this is what I feel like. Every game needs to deserve to at least be played twice. Because obviously, if you don't enjoy it the first time, it might be some experience. It could, like you said, it could be luck. Could have been a luck thing. It could have been like the drawing the thing. Try it again. If you don't like it the second time, then goodbye.
My rule is I will play until I win, and then I'll stop. Because obviously,
that's adorable.
I don't need to play anymore. I've done it. I've won, and I think you closed the book.
That sounded very much like my friend Lance. My friend Lance was like, he gave me a game. Oh God, I don't remember which one it was, but he was like, "Oh, I beat it," and I was like, "So you're done playing it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I beat the game," and I was like, "You don't want to play it again?" "No, I beat it."
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand. I am Lance.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
So what are you seeing right now in games that give you hope or you would want to see pushed a little bit further in terms of, let's say, inclusion specifically is kind of what I'm getting at?
Well, I will say, since on the 28th we had Stonewall Uprising, which is a gay themed game. It's about queer people, and it's actually very, very good. And I want this to be so successful for everyone because it's a really great game. It is really, really good, and I see that being more of a thing. I will tell you, 5 years ago, to think that we were going to get a gay civil rights game sounded like a pipe dream. Sounded like something we were never going to get. So to see that be a thing that's being received well, it was only going to be a thing for the US. It was going to only be for the North America distribution, but there are people like in England who want to be able to distribute it. So I'm hoping that it can be a global game that people can experience, because mechanically it's very interesting, but it also, every single card teaches you about the gay civil rights movement. They're teaching you about like Martha P. Johnson, like all these prolific icons in our community that all queer people need to know about. Like, all people need to and like, I love learning, and I love learning in games. It's just a beautiful tool to be able to have fun and play and learn things. So yeah, I think that is moving forward. I love that people are pushing for more diversity, more even with color blindness and all that sort of stuff, like people being more cognizant of those things, because even the 5 years that I've been here, there has been so much progress in that, and we still have more to go. But I love seeing the trend that people are trying to push for more than just a girl wearing skimpy armor on on a board, like just actually like stuff like that. So it's moving. I just, I guess we all secretly want it to move more.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to, I saw James Hudson shared a post because they're working on Bloodstone, like relaunching that. And so they have the character in a wheelchair, and they actually worked with a consultant to make sure it made sense. Like the wheelchair actually was functional and made sense for like an actual disabled person to use. Because I'm assuming their original design was like a hospital chair, which is not
right. It's not the same.
Like it's not what people in wheelchairs use in daily life.
It wouldn't be very good for a battle. Let's put it that way.
Right. Oh, like you have to. We consulted with someone and it made it better. Like, why not? I think that just needs to be common practice.
I just think that if you're going to have the representation, it should be accurate representation. And if you can go and get the consultants, somebody telling you what it is, your game is going to be nothing but better for it. So why not? That's money well spent.
Yeah. And I think it's not enough to say like, oh, I want inclusion or diversity, therefore I'm just going to put these people in my game, and that's how we end up with like very stereotyped queer characters and then disabled people in like very nonsensical.
My thing is diversity being behind stretch goals. Like I just don't want any more of that. No more diversity behind stretch goals. They should be there from the beginning.
Yes. I think one thing I'm pushing for, and like, so this is a conversation I've had that has come up especially when it comes to like cooperative alpha gaming, I think is like the big issue that comes in the cooperative games. Or even non-cooperative ones. There can sometimes be alpha gamers.
Oh, for sure.
The question is, do designers need to work on making games less prone to alpha gaming, or do you just need to play with better people? And I think my personal stance is like, I've designed a cooperative game and I was very aware of like how it felt, because I do not like competitive, same as you. I don't like being competitive. I don't like stepping on people. It's actually almost a flaw that I don't insert myself in like, if someone's talking, I will not interrupt you. Like it's very uncomfortable for me. Like if I don't have space to talk, I'm not going to make space for myself to talk. So if it's like a time sensitive game, or is Happy Salmon the one where like you're trying to find cards? You're screaming. You're all screaming.
Yeah. Well, you have like you have like six people who are all screaming, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah, I can't do Happy Salmon. I can't scream at people when other people are talking. Like it's horrible. Anyway, so I'm very aware of like I don't like that feeling. So I designed a game that gave players agency to like control how the conversation worked. Like that was a big part of my design. So I'm like, you can like, I can't completely design a game where someone's not gonna try and do something. Like I can't stop them from being a dick, but I can put systems in place to help deter it or discourage that behavior. Like I think I did it successfully. So I'm on the side of, I think we can move towards or advocate for systems, or like be aware that there are ways that we can design around it. I don't think it's fair to say like, oh no, you just need to find better people.
Yeah, I just think that that's not going to work for everybody. Like there's also a thing that like we used to have a friend who he got very, very competitive, and like outside of gaming, he's a very, very nice person, but oh goodness, he was a lot when it came to board games. So there's, it's everybody has their, I guess, thing. I don't want to say flaw, because flaw is not a thing. They just have their thing, their quirk. But yeah, it's just like when you play Pandemic. I love Pandemic. I don't want people to feel like there can be a huge alpha gamer in pandemic. There's going to be somebody who's going to tell you what to do, how to move things, and then you just do it. And obviously that is a thing, but if you can put in systems in place that make it to where you can, and you give people to where they all have to have agency to be able to do it, I think that's just the easiest way to fix it. That's the easiest way, because like there's going to always be somebody who's going to want to do what they want to do. Maybe not so because they don't like the people, but more so because they think that's the only way that they're going to win. Because there are alpha gamers who just want to win. They just want to win. It's not to be like they don't like you. They just want to win.
Yeah, most people, it's probably coming from a place of I want to do well, competitiveness. But
yeah,
I don't think it can be both, but I don't think it's fair to just say you need to find better people or you need to be better at managing those situations when that's not comfortable for everyone. So it's not an accessible design choice to say,
absolutely.
No, you just need to find good people and the bad people need to go somewhere else. Or if you can't navigate that, then you need to stay home, which is a response I have heard before.
Oh,
and I'm like,
that's quite a response.
That's your solution, is you're telling me to go away? Excuse me?
So don't have fun at all. Actually, go sit in the corner, okay?
If you can't navigate this hostile environment, you need to leave.
Just you need to plug yourself out of it and go.
This is a game we're having a good time. So I think that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a little disclaimer at the end where I just remind everyone that we are just a couple of queer folks. We do not speak for the entire LGBTQIA+ community, nor are we trying to. The best way to be an ally is just to keep learning, listening, and remember, we're all just trying to get through this together. So that's all I have. If you're listening, know that you're loved and perfect just the way you are. And until next time, bye.